Yo, it's a noisy world out there when it comes to music and media. New content is dropping every single day. Attention is the main currency. And hopefully we know by this point that just because you're talented doesn't mean you're necessarily gonna get heard. So on this video, I'm gonna give you some basic tips on how to improve your chances of getting your music heard, getting your monthly listeners up, and ultimately being discovered, specifically on Spotify. Stay tuned.
Indie Jones, back with a trendy flow. I'm still trying to find my voice in this here scenario. Here we go.
Yo, what's going on? My name is Ruslan, hip-hop artist, creative entrepreneur. This channel exists to encourage, inspire, empower people to live out the king's dream for their life, specifically to live out God's full potential for you. So thank you for checking us out. If you're new here, consider hitting that like button, subscribing, turning notifications on. My bad on getting this video a little late to you guys. I was trying to get this out to you on Teach Me Tuesday, but I wasn't able to, as you guys know. I got a record coming out with my man Paul Russell on October 10th. Some of the most creative music I've ever made is called Via Text. So I've been in the middle of that, and then yesterday my ring light broke, and it's just been a mess. But listen, if you want to support that, if you want to get more access, you can either sign up to our Patreon if the $9 tier and up on Patreon right now has that full album available right now. You can go listen to it right now, or you could pre-order it from the website. There's some sales, there's some discount codes happening. Pre-order from the website. I'll give it to you early. It doesn't come out till the 10th. I'll give it to you early, or you can just wait till the 10th and stream it. But support your indie artists, man. Support Cop the Music is very important because it breaks down kind of like this. 1 million streams on Spotify breaks down to about $3,500. If an indie artist sold just 5,000 copies, they can make $35,000. So buying the music is very helpful. Buying it direct is very helpful. iTunes, whatever. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to give you guys some practical tools about how to get your music heard, how to get your music discovered, how to get your monthly listeners up on Spotify. Not a whole lot of people are talking about this because not a whole lot of people have done this, to be honest with you. And I appreciate all the people putting out amazing content on YouTube, but I think I'm one of the few in that 100% of my revenue comes from music. I don't have any online courses. I don't have any other products that I sell. It's just music and music-related merch. And maybe I'll get into some of that stuff down the road, but you can do your research on me. This is really what I do. I run a small mom and pop shop label called King's Dream Entertainment. Like I told you, I've been full-time off of music for the past 3 years. I've released 3 albums in the past 2 years, solo albums that have all charted top 10 on the iTunes hip-hop charts. I'm currently sitting at about 70,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. I have a handful of songs that have hundreds of thousands of plays, and I have 1 or 2 songs that have millions of plays on Spotify. I live in Southern California. I provide for my family. I have a son and a wife. My wife doesn't work a job, and I've been able to build a 6-figure business off of music. And so on this video, I'm going to give you some basic steps, break down some of the new Spotify algorithm to better equip you on how to get your music heard, how to get those monthly listeners up, and ultimately how to get discovered on Spotify. Now, when it comes to the music industry, those of you guys that are keeping up know that it's like the best of times and it's the worst of times, right? There's a lot of new music coming out. There's a lot of people fighting for attention, fighting for ears, fighting for listeners. But it's also a really cool time because there's no more real gatekeepers. Like, if you got it, you got it. If you could be a little strategic and a little tactical, you could really double up in this era that we're living in. I think it's a very dope era. Now, primarily, right now, in the making of this video, 2018, there's a few ways that people discover new music, right? There's SoundCloud, which is kind of on the way out. Not mad at it, but it's kind of on the way out. There's YouTube, which a lot of people do still discover music on YouTube. And there's Apple Music and, of course, Spotify. Now, you need to understand the difference between all these platforms. The basic difference is that YouTube is more of a search engine. It's the second biggest search engine out there next to Google. Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, those are streaming services. People pay monthly services, or maybe there's a free tier like Spotify has. And right now, Spotify has definitely taken kind of the market share in terms of the amount of users they have. I believe they're at like 80 million monthly users. I don't think all those are paid, but that's still a lot of users. YouTube is at about 1 billion monthly users. But that's not all music, right? So for starters, you need to understand that all of these different platforms have their own ecosystems, and they prefer you to post content on there natively. Meaning that if you want to pop on YouTube, it's gonna look different than trying to pop on Spotify. The steps are gonna look different if you're a musician. YouTube is gonna be more focused on quality music videos, viral music videos, collaborations. Spotify is gonna be more, obviously, on the music and less on the visuals, though that's starting to change, and I'll get more into that in a bit. at the end of this video, I'm also gonna give you guys a 6-step checklist, which kind of goes over some of these things on how to get that checklist for free, but I'll just go over some of these briefly, just so you know some of the steps you need to get your song and get your stuff popping on Spotify. So for starters, in order to get your music heard and discovered on Spotify, you first of all need to get your music on Spotify. The best way to do that is to get a DistroKid account. I know a lot of us used to use CD Baby. I used to use that. I used to use TuneCore. DistroKid. Here's why DistroKid. It's $19.99 a year. $19.99 a year for unlimited uploads. As many songs, as many albums, as many mixtapes, EPs as you want, you could put on DistroKid for $19.99 a year. TuneCore charges you an annual fee for every single release. CD Baby charges you a one-time upload fee, and then they take a small percentage. DistroKid does not take a percentage, and they just charge you one annual fee for as many releases as you want. So for someone like me that puts out a lot of music, I end up saving a lot of money because I could have one account, pay for that account, get my music up super fast, and no one's taking a percentage, which is nice. And another thing is, if you have music on TuneCore, you could actually use DistroKid to bring your music over to DistroKid. If you're playlisted, if you have all kinds of stuff, all you have to do is copy and paste your ISRC numbers from TuneCore into DistroKid. If you don't know what those are, you can Google that on your own, but it's real simple. So I'm bringing most of my catalog over to DistroKid. I really like DistroKid. You could assign splits. So if you're working on a group project and you want to keep everything nice and clean, say it's you and a partner or you and a producer, you could assign 50-50 splits. Say you're working with an indie label, you could assign splits. It's super dope. I use it for King's Dream Entertainment, which is my small mom and pop shop boutique label. We assign splits. Everybody gets paid directly. It's super dope. So link in the description. If you want to sign up for DistroKid, you can. $19.99 a year. If you use the code below, I think you get 7% off your first year. So check that out. First, you got to be able to get your music on Spotify. On any platform, you're going to hear this word a lot. You're going to hear this word on Instagram. You're going to hear this word on Facebook. You're going to hear this word on YouTube. The algorithm, right? The dreaded A word, the algorithm, meaning that all of these different platforms have their own algorithms and they all work different. They're not all the same. So you have to kind of be aware of how these algorithms work, and these algorithms change. So as of the making of this video, I'm going to talk about the Spotify algorithm to help you guys understand how to get your music heard and discovered on Spotify. Basically, how the Spotify algorithm works is it's kind of a culmination of how many followers you have versus how many first day or first couple of days streams you have. It's meaning that if I have 6,000 Spotify followers right now, and I drop a song and my first day or my first 2-day streams is at 10,000, Spotify is gonna see that and they're gonna be like, oh, this song is doing really well. This guy only has 6,000 followers, but he ended up getting 10,000 streams. Okay, and it's gonna automatically, in their algorithm, add your music to more playlists. And Spotify is all about playlists. There's a playlist just about for every single subgenre and subgenre of subgenre. And some of these playlists are huge. So like Release Radar playlist, which a lot of the major labels get onto, is about 2 million monthly listeners. That's a potential exposure to millions and millions of people. Now, not everybody's just gonna get on that playlist. Not everybody's gonna get on Rap Caviar, but there are Spotify radio, Spotify curated playlists that just about anybody can get on. With the caveat that your music is good and you follow the next couple steps that I'm gonna give you. Now, there's an artist in San Diego I'm loosely affiliated with. His name is Shua. He's super duper dope, super talented. He's actually John Keith's brother. John Keith is one of my artists on King's Dream Entertainment. Now, Shua put out his first song on Spotify. And here's how it worked out. Shua has less than 100 followers on Spotify right now, but he put out his first song and it got well above 1,000 plays its first day or so. So what did Spotify do? Well, Spotify added it to a bunch of playlists. It added it to a bunch of different ways to discover him. So Shua, who's under 100 followers on Spotify as of the making of this video, right now has 18,000 monthly listeners, and his first song is at about 70,000 streams. That's crazy, right? Like, this isn't somebody with a massive platform. This is somebody who just released the song the right way. It was a good song. And he did some of these things that I'm gonna tell you next. The first step, as I told you, you need a DistroKid. Second thing is you need to sign up for Spotify for Artists, get your Spotify verified. That's very simple to do. That's in the checklist that I'm gonna give you. But the essential thing that I would talk about and to get started is I call it the Foggy Raw model. If you guys don't know who Foggy Raw is a friend of mine. He's a super dope artist who popped on SoundCloud. He kind of used this model of releasing a song, getting all of his friends to share it when SoundCloud was popping, and he kind of brought that model over to Spotify, where he slowly transitioned his audience over, he built up his following, and he literally just did it one person at a time. Everybody in his neighborhood, everybody at his school, his friends of friends. And he would ask everybody, yo, make sure you follow me on SoundCloud, make sure you're following me on Spotify. So the first step, get your Spotify profile up, apply for the verification, make sure your photo's up, make sure you have Spotify for artists access, and get all your friends, like your real life friends, get all of them to follow you on Spotify. Step 2 is upload your song to Spotify. Songs with collabs that maybe have bigger name artists tend to do better, but just get your song to Spotify. Here's the key, 4 weeks out. If you could practice restraint and not just try to put something out real quick, and I struggle with this too, but 4 weeks out, set the date. It'll give it time to populate in the Spotify system. It'll give it time to upload, all that kind of stuff. And then start doing the prep work of getting all your friends to follow you, getting people to pre-save it in their Spotify playlist. You're doing all this prep work. Why? So that on the day the song releases, everybody goes, listens to it. And hopefully if you're starting out 50 Spotify followers, 100 followers, wherever you're at, that song gets added to those playlists and hopefully people listen to it. You just encourage people, listen to the song multiple times. Now in the Spotify for Artists website, there's a section where you could submit your song for playlists. There's the Spotify curated playlist, meaning there's an actual curator putting it together, and then there's the algorithm playlist. Submit your song for some different playlists. See what happens. If you do this prep work and that first day drops, you get on a Discover radar, and your song is good. And you know how Spotify algorithm knows if your song is good? The skip rate. The skip rate. If your song is getting skipped in a playlist, it's not gonna get added to any more playlists. If people are listening to your song all the way through, guess what? They're probably gonna add you to some more playlists. It's gonna get your streams up. It's gonna get your monthly listeners up. So that goes back to quality music. And then work your plan. Maybe have a music video. One of the things that Spotify likes that you could actually do through DistroKid if you reach out to them is they're really into these vertical videos, similar to like Instagram TV, but vertical videos on Spotify. They don't have to be perfect. They could be shot with your iPhone. They could be abstract. They don't have to be full-on music videos, but Spotify curators and the Spotify ecosystem likes vertical videos. So if you could put together a simple vertical video, get that over to them through DistroKid. Just reach out to DistroKid directly. That may also help you. And you basically want to repeat this as a quality song a month, 2 songs a month, quality collaborations, putting songs up early, submitting them to playlists, making sure that people go listen the day of, they're following, they're pre-saving, all these different things set off bells on the Spotify algorithm. Again, algorithms change, but this is how the current Spotify algorithm is working right now. Now, I have a couple songs that have hundreds of thousands of streams. I have 1 or 2 songs that have millions of streams, and a lot of that was just done organically in their Spotify playlist. We put out a record called Good Religion a couple years ago, and a couple months after putting out that record, we kind of disbanded. And 2 years after that record, there's still songs on our playlist that get hundreds of thousands of streams because the Spotify algorithm likes them. And that's ultimately what you want to do. 1 million streams on Spotify make you roughly about $3,500 to $4,000. Okay, 1 million streams a month. To get there, you could put out 200 songs that do 10,000 streams a month. You could put out 100 songs that do 20,000 streams a month. You could just figure out how to get there. But if you're doing 1 million streams, which is my goal, I'm trying to get to 1 million streams on Spotify a month. That means my monthly listeners would have to triple or quadruple to kind of hit those ratios. That means my Spotify followers would have to go up. But that's what I'm trying to get to. And so there's different ways to get there, man. So you just got to figure out what's your angle and how do you want to release music and content. So in the comment section, I want to know from you guys, let's keep the conversation going. How many of you guys are fellow artists, fellow rappers, musicians, aspiring musicians? I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below. So as I've said earlier, I'm in the middle of walking through all this and putting this out through a record I have with my man Paul Russell coming out October 10th. So as I'm processing this, I'm thinking, man, this would be good stuff for the channel. This would be good stuff for people that are going through this. So here's what I did. I put together a song release checklist that you can get for free. It's right in the description below. You get the checklist completely for free. But here's why I'm putting out this checklist. I'm really just testing the water because I've had a lot of people in my personal life, a lot of fellow artists, musicians that I meet that are like, yo, you kind of really know a lot about this music thing. how about you put together some type of online course or something like that on helping people to roll out their albums or helping people make money from music, the different streams of music. And I've been really hesitant. So this checklist is really just the first step to test the water, see if you guys are interested in content like this, more in-depth content that helps people walk through releasing their music, releasing albums, mixtapes, EPs, how to develop revenue streams from music, since that's where all my revenue comes from. So that's in the description below. Sign up. It's free. It's a song checklist. Kind of gives you some of this information, a little bit more detail with links for all this kind of stuff. Now, in closing, I have to end this video with this. A couple days ago, I did a video about is everything we know about obesity wrong? And I talked about fitness, and you guys know I've been on a fitness journey. And I told you guys I built a 6-figure business off of music, hoping to make that 7 figures. But here's what I learned this past summer. I've learned that getting in shape, getting physically fit is much easier than trying to pop as a musician. Here's why. Unless you have some type of weird thyroid issue or something like that, getting in shape is really just about training well, sleeping, and getting the proper nutrition. I put up a tweet that said that if you're trying to hit the gym and get fit without proper nutrition, you might as well be trying to play basketball without Chucks on. Unless you're just a genetic freak, you're just gonna frustrate yourself. Just about anybody can get in shape if they follow the proper steps. But music is different because you are still subjected to the market, meaning the market wants what the market wants, meaning that you could be more talented than somebody and have a way smaller platform and a smaller impact. Or you could be less talented than somebody and have a way bigger platform and a way bigger impact. And some people just get lucky. So just know that even if you guys follow all these steps to a T, it doesn't guarantee you success. It increases your chances of becoming successful as a musician, but it doesn't guarantee you success because that's just not the way art, that's not the way music works. It's not the way fitness is, where if you have your macros broken down, if you're eating and you're creating a calorie deficit, you're eating clean foods, you're working out 5-6 times a week, eventually, over time, you're gonna get in great physical shape if you follow those steps correctly. Now, for some of us, it's gonna take longer. For some of us, we gotta work a little harder. But for the most part, it's gonna work out. Music isn't quite like that. Business isn't quite like that, because you can have a quality product, you can follow all the steps, and your timing just might be off. That may just not be what the market is needing. That's not where people's psyche is at. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate you. Thumbs up, leave a comment. Make sure you sign up to get that free song checklist and turn the notifications on. Peace.
I can't keep you in check, so tell your mama about the tattoos up to your neck. Go wear a collar if it goes with the burgundy kids, and tell your father that you're nice.